Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Pete. This is Studio Live today, and boy, do we have something special and different for you here today. I'm going to be interviewing Lawrence Akers, who is a hypnotherapist, an audio enthusiast, and he's right here in Australia too. I don't have many Australians on the show here, so I'm really looking forward to this one tonight. So, we also need your help. We need some recommendations because Lawrence has got some interesting things that he's doing with hypnotherapy and with audio gear. So if you're an audio gear enthusiast, and I know you are, I'm looking at you, then stick around because we need your help because Lawrence has got a problem we need to help you solve. And I'm going to welcome Lawrence to the stream here right now. Lawrence, welcome to Studio Live today. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing exceptionally well. Yes, it's great to have you here. We've been chatting for a few weeks because we'll talk a little bit about the thing that you emailed me about. So we've been chatting for a month now, probably a couple of months now, about a little audio technical issue that you're trying to work through with some of the work that you do. But as I do with every interview I do here on Studio Live today, I need to find out the Lawrence origin story. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are now as being a hypnotherapist, is using audio gear as part of your hypnotherapy.
Well, I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. No, okay, not really. I had always had an interest in audio gear. I think last time we spoke, I pointed out that in the bookcase behind me there's an old Atari ST. Which has Cubase on it. So back in the days where you had your MIDI keyboards and I was playing with audio way back then. And for a while there, I was working in the music industry as well. And I was quite often asked by some of my fellow label managers if I could do a quick audio edit of a 12-inch instead of having to necessarily send it out. So it was always something that was kind of a passion. And then I won't necessarily go into why I decided to become a hypnotherapist, other than the fact that it was always something that was of great interest to me. But while I was studying to become a hypnotherapist, I realized that many of the people in my class were completely technophobic. Like absolutely terrified of technology, which is kind of ironic because we're all studying to become these people that could help people overcome limiting beliefs. And yet, as soon as I mentioned technology, they had this kind of thought of, what if I break it? Or, it's too hard, or I can't do that. There was this irony going on. And the longer I was in the industry, the more I realized more and more hypnotherapists and therapists in general actually, can tend to be quite technophobic. I'm not sure why that is. And so that led me, after I finished my course, to kind of combine my love of hypnotherapy and my love of audio. And I created like this workshop called Recording for Hypnotherapists, which is all about how hypnotherapists could actually do fairly decent sound recordings at home with the equipment they probably already have without having to spend a fortune. And since then, I've done about 12 of those workshops in Melbourne. There's an online version of it now that people can buy. I'm doing a presentation on the Gold Coast at the HypnoBiz Australia conference in March 2020. I've done talks to people in New Zealand that have bought it, to people in America. So it's great that it's getting an interest. But there's one. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me cut you off there. There's one thing that people keep asking me about, and this is if they could build a device, which we've now dubbed the hypnotherapy mixer. If they could build this device that is essentially a mixer, but would have a headset for the hypnotherapist that they could talk, potentially a headset for the client who may be able to talk as well, especially if they were doing something like hypnoanalysis where they had to speak. And then it could be all run through the mixer with potentially even music being played through it as well. Now, in theory, this sounds like something that should be really straightforward and easy to do, which is why it was so incredibly frustrating to discover how limited these options actually were. Which is why I reached out to you originally in the first place, thinking, if anyone's going to know, you should know. Yeah.
And I failed you dismally. And
no, I wouldn't say that.
And that's why I'm asking for help, because we've literally been looking for options here. And that's why I thought I'm going to reach out here to the Studio Live Today community to ask for suggestions, because, and we'll talk about the gear that you do use and how you sort of use this at the moment, because the reason it's so similar is that for anyone who's tried to record people, like record themselves or record someone else, having that ability to have two people being recorded at the same time, like using a mixer, is a crazy challenging thing. Like mixers almost seem to be designed for you to use solely by yourself. So you plug in a microphone, you plug in headphones, it's just all you, or you're paying $1,000 for like a talkback mic and like a big, professional solution. So from the home studio perspective, yeah, it can be really difficult and really challenging. And we haven't yet been able to crack it. But why don't you tell folks what you use at the moment? Because you've actually got a pretty ingenious kind of solution that you've put together at the moment.
Well, before I get there were some other challenges too, because keep in mind, these people are generally technophobic. So it can't be anything too over the top. And also it can't be too expensive. And so it was definitely a challenge in itself. What I ended up doing was using a Behringer 302 USB. I kind of wish I had mine here. I don't, because it's in my clinic room. I do have a Behringer 502, so just pretend that this is a 302.
It's very similar to that, doesn't it?
It's kind of the same, yeah. But and I am aware of the fact that the way I'm using this is actually probably going against the way the manufacturer has recommended.
You're breaking all the rules.
Yeah, I kind of am, and it's also why I think that there's potentially some problems, and why I keep looking at how do I revise this? How do I do it differently? But what I've done is basically I've got two splitters, and I plugged the splitters into the headphones and into the microphone socket. On the Behringer 302, of course, it's got a microphone jack for headset, so that's the port that I'm using, and then I'm basically splitting that way. So yes, there it is.
There's the Behringer 302. So here's the headset. So you've got the 3.5mm jacks. So this is what we're using. And again, you're MacGyvering this stuff up, which I have utmost respect for, to put a splitter in there in your microphone, so you can get two mics in, splitter in your headphones to get two headphones out, and this therefore becomes a pretty low cost solution. So these are like about $60 US, which is about $100 Australian to pick up one of these. So they're not an expensive mixer. And then with a couple of cheap headsets that you can use that are analog, you're getting the results, and obviously it's working for you. So you're utilizing this setup, and it's effective for you when you're doing this sort of thing.
It is effective. It doesn't have come issue free. There is a certain amount of background noise that can exist there, especially when you're turning up the gain. However, if you use the USB function and play some background music through with it, it's not as bad. And for people out there who are watching this who may not realize why hypnotherapists might want to do this, it's often about noise reduction. So, a great example I have, I adore my business partner, Joey. Love you dearly. He can be very loud at times, and so it's how do you, and I've also got I think they're importers on the other side of my wall, and I kid you not, it sounds like they're watching freaking Star Wars while they work. I don't know, literally hear lasers, and it's just like, it's like, whoa. So as a hypnotherapist, that can be quite a challenge if you're trying to get someone to focus and go inwards to becoming absorbed in their experience while there's boo, 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 boo going on in the background. So, and I know other hypnotherapists have similar issues with whether it be traffic noise or anything like that. So these mixers are great in being able to basically block out that noise. the other thing, of course, is that it kind of adds to the experience. It's probably not what people are expecting when they go in, and
Yeah.
if it blocks out some of the other extraneous noise that might take away their focus and help them to focus inwards, then that's a really useful tool as well. So they're kind of the key reasons why hypnotherapists may want to use something like this. And clearly the interest that I've had from people, both in Australia, being that we are fellow Australians, we haven't ramped up the Aussie accent too much in this.
Come on, mate.
And yeah, g'day, mate. Let's put a prawn on the USB interface. The interest internationally is there as well. But I do get occasionally people saying, "Oh, I've put together what you said. I've put 2 headphones in and I've used the splits and I can't hear anything." And the chances are is that they're using headphones, and they're probably going to need a different level of power than what the mixer is going to be able to power up from the jack. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and the reason, if anyone's watching this and then going, Peter, what's this got to do with home studios and home recording? Well, there's a couple of things.
Kind of is, yeah.
It totally is, because we face the same issues, which is that you're trying to record audio, you're trying to reduce the amount of noise, you're trying to get the best bang for buck with your gear. So all the things that you, Lawrence, are trying to solve for and you're trying to get done. And again, the reason you reached out to me was that this is all the same as what we're doing in our home studios. This is just trying to find the best gear with the lowest noise and the best quality that we can actually get out there without spending thousands of dollars. Because I know that a lot. You've talked before that a lot of your colleagues want wireless devices. They want to be able to just. They can't really understand why you can't just have one little device that's all wireless, and you've got a couple of wireless headsets, and you just do everything like that. And that exists, but that's at the high end. That's at like running concert venues and things where you can actually have in-ear monitors and wireless transfers and things like that. So if you've got a few $1,000s up your sleeve, you can definitely do that. But if anyone does have any suggestions for us here of gear, because I think that there was something you found on Amazon, wasn't there? That was quite interesting.
That was this here. It was the Maker Heart Just Mixer, which
looks so cool. It looked like such a good option.
It is cool, and it's got the ability there to switch between the voltage there, and it's got sliders and everything. I just found that there were 2 issues I had, and I really, to be completely transparent, should go back and try again. It's largely because this manual.
Fold out pages. Oh, it is. It's a fold out page. I hate the fold out page.
It's pretty. It's in, I don't know, 16 different languages, something like that. But in terms of, there were 2 things. So the amount of background noise on this was quite significant. And additionally, trying to connect it up to the USB to get it to play back the music, I just couldn't get it going. So I don't know if it was me suffering from a case of the dumb or what. I do need to go back and try playing with that to see. That wasn't very expensive, but it showed a lot of promise. I was super excited when I got it, but it hasn't delivered on what I kind of thought.
Yeah, and it looks so good because you sent me a link. You're like, I think I've cracked it, and then I looked at it. I'm like, that looks great. You're like, I've ordered one. I'm like, let me know how it goes. And then we chatted a couple of weeks ago, and you're like, yeah, no, not so great. Because I'm fantasizing about this like home studio. The more you talk about it, the more I'm like, there's got to be a home studio kind of mixer that does this. That's going to work for you. That would also be the same sort of thing. Because I've used audio interfaces that have like 2 headphone outputs as well, but they're at like the higher end, and a lot of your mixers only have 1 headphone output, so you're always going to have to split. You then don't have independent volume control over your different outputs. Like there's literally nothing that I can find that is like 2 in and 2 out that you can sort of add in some like an RCA for like an external player or use your USB audio with. They're all close to the mark but not quite there. So if anyone knows that, it is going to be the studio upgrade audience.
It's pretty much just anything that can allow for 2 microphone headsets to be plugged in. That's all. Even sharing the output, I don't mind. it's really about getting the two inputs in, and that's been remarkably challenging. And of course, for hypnotherapists, we want to be able to have our hands free,
Yeah,
and we want to be able to
need
move around as well.
on the mic so that you can be like, which would be fun though.
Yeah, doing a rap as we go.
Right, you could be on the mic and you could just say, "So you want to quit smoking? All right, stop smoking. All right, mic drop, and then you're done."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Probably more to it than that, because I totally don't understand hypnotherapy. But if people do want to understand hypnotherapy, they should go to your website, shouldn't they? Which is, no, you're gonna have to tell me the web. Release hypno. You say
it's Release Hypnosis. www.releasehypnosis.com.au, and it have information about my services as well as the online audio hypnotherapy course if anyone's interested.
There you go. If you are interested, and like I said. Oh, absolutely. Got to throw a plug in there, mate. I'll be perfectly honest, because I've been honest with you all the way through. I had zero interest in hypnotherapy, but I'm absolutely interested in audio, and I love anything that has an audio sort of take on it. And the more I hear you talk about this stuff, the more I want to get involved in it. So it is super cool. And to be honest, it's interestingly enough, we were talking a little bit about a few other things as well, because you have a bit of a background in music. We touched on it briefly, but do you want to tell folks a little bit about your background in the music industry here in Australia?
I wasn't actually in as a musician. That wasn't that. It was more. I worked for many years, starting off in kind of retail there, being a buyer for a very well-known chain that still exists. I then I suppose I was headhunted. I got asked to go into to a record label to have a meeting with them. I wasn't exactly sure what the meeting was about, and it turned out to be a job interview, which was really, really bizarre. And then I kind of went home and said to my housemate at the time, I just went in there, and it turned out to be a job interview, and it was really good. And literally, as I finished the sentence, I got a phone call to say, "Hey, would you like the job?" So that was great. And it ended up working for like Mushroom and Festival Mushroom Records, and pretty much ended up being in marketing, even though I never actually studied marketing. So it was all kind of just
that's the way most people get into marketing.
It was literally luck and falling into jobs, which probably didn't help the imposter syndrome side of things terribly much, because it's kind of like, oh, my career has all just been luck, and in certain aspects of that's true for me. My career was all just luck, but it did mean that I got to work with some fantastic artists over time who I absolutely admire, and it was the dream job for many years. Absolutely.
And when you sort of mentioned this to me, you just casually mentioned it. You're a humble dude, and you just sort of said, "Oh, yeah, I just had a bit of a job, working with some artists, marketing for Mushroom Records." I'm like, Mushroom Festival, like that was basically the 90s in the North. For me, was like most of the Australian artists that I loved were on Mushroom and Festival Records. So yes, if you're an Australian, you'd probably nerd out. And can you drop a couple of names, a couple of artist names?
I actually think I was the last Mushroom employee before it sold to Festival Records. So maybe I have that honor to my name. Artists that I work with, is that what you're saying?
If you want to drop a few names, they'll bounce around on the floor for a while. But yeah, if you want to throw some down there.
Well, I was working mostly with Australian artists, which was fantastic, because I loved working with Australian artists. So one act that's just come back again recently, in fact, they're playing in Melbourne Friday night here, was Motor Race. So it's great to see those boys back again. Damo, especially, their drummer's just a great guy, and just very cool band. So I'm really thrilled to see them back again. I used to love working with bands. You probably don't remember. There was a group called Machine Gun Fellatio. They had to change the name to MGF because people got funny about that. Sensitive.
Actually, one of my favorite bands of all time. Would you believe? Is it? Yeah, you're like a roller coaster, Toast on a
that's it. I've had a few great nights with those guys, and then there acts like there was this singer. She didn't do much in the end. Her name was Kylie Minogue, She kind of faded into obscurity. I don't think anyone's ever
What is she
heard
doing
or
these
remembered it.
days? I don't know. She was on a soap opera, wasn't she, back in the day? Like she,
Yeah, something like that. She's Danny Minogue's lesser known sister. Yeah. So
oh yeah, so there you go. I knew there'd be a few that would drop people's jaws to the floor on that one, but I'm actually more impressed with Machine Gun Fellatio on Motor Race because
they actually like they wrote some great music. They had a song called "Unsent Letter." Do you remember that one?
I do remember.
And I just think that's a really beautiful song. It's just got that quality about it. Very similar to what the Whitlams were doing at the time, when there's a connection between those bands as well. So
yeah, oh no, we could and again, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Lawrence is so we could nerd out on like Australian music of the 90s and early 2000s, because there was a lot of really good things going on here, and Australian music was kind of dominating here in Australia. But if you are not from Australia and you want to check out some really good music, then you can do yourself a favor. Buddy Molly would say, and check out Machine Gun Fellatio, and just don't search for them at work, otherwise your search history is going to get flagged. But on your home,
some of their songs,
they've got some songs, Something Town, a few other songs, so go and check them out. And Motor Race as well. American Shoes, my favorite Motor Race song of all time. That was a very, very cool tune, very good pop, punk, like rock pop sort of alternative.
Rock pop alternative. They're Triple J favorites for a while there. What was the TV show? Secret Life of Us. They did the soundtrack to that, didn't they?
They had that.
Justified might have been the track for that.
Exactly, Claudia Carvin. Oh mate, it's all coming back. It's all bring back the 90s, I say. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, and there's so many connections here. And as I said, when we first sort of got together and started talking about this stuff, I said I don't know where it's going to fit on the channel, but I have to have you on the channel, and I want to talk to you about what you're doing, how you're working things through here. I know that the folks here, and by tomorrow when we check back, there'll be folks with a bunch of ideas.
I hope so.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do your research. I know you folks love jumping on Amazon. You love checking out all the different gear, and you can find out and just give us ideas, because I'm willing to try more things, as is Lawrence. If you find a weird Chinese made mixer that looks like the go for this, then let us know. Drop it in the comments below. Something like that, but maybe not that one. Because we've already tried that one. But yes, definitely let us know if you've got any ideas. Wireless solutions, I don't know, Bluetooth. Is there things that we can do here? Are we just a couple of old dudes that aren't up with the latest technology, and you're going to just say, oh, you just buy the $100 Flurgan 3000 and then we plug it in and we're good to go? Maybe that's what it will be. Thank you again. If you do have any comments or any other questions for Lawrence, make sure you drop those in the comments below. Any parting words from you here before we finish up tonight, Lawrence?
No, look, thank you for the opportunity to come on and chat to your audience. And I'll be really keen to see if anyone does come up with something that can help solve this problem, because I'm surprised it actually is a problem. But as you've discovered, it's not a straightforward one by any means. So I'd really appreciate absolutely any suggestion that anyone might have out there.
100%. So drop your comments there. If you found this interesting, if you wanted to learn more about Australian music, then go and check out a couple of bands that we mentioned there. If you got some value out of this, hit the like button, and I know you're probably already subscribed here as well. Check out the link down below. We've got a link there to Lawrence's website, but of course you can throw some comments here, and I'll make sure Lawrence jumps back in here to this video and answers any of your questions that you have about hooking up audio gear and all the things that he does. And if you want Kylie Minogue's personal email address, I'm sure he can hook you up.
We don't have that. We really don't have that.
All right, folks. Thanks again for joining us here tonight. And we'll catch you again next time. Cheers.